Welcome to Field the Draft. I'm your host, John Sarianides, and tonight I have the good fortune to be joined by UNH wide receiver Logan Tomlinson. Logan, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to talking some football with you, brother. I've been a fan of your game from afar, and now it's a good opportunity for me and our viewing audience to get to know you and talk about your football journey and how you're getting ready for the draft and your football career. And obviously, it's been a when you look at your football career, you certainly have made the most of your opportunities. Obviously, starting your college football career at Wesleyan,
Sir.
then you made your way to UNH, and that's where I think a lot of New England football fans and football fans across the country really got to know you. Before we get to that part of your football journey, let's start with where your football journey began. How did you get into playing football? How old were you, and what did you love about the game? What attracted you to the game?
Yeah, I think like a lot of guys in my situation, I started playing football at a really young age. I was probably 6 years old when I started playing Pee Wee football. Um, I have two older brothers, and they were wrestlers. So my first sport was wrestling when I was about five. I tried t-ball and didn't like that, and tried out football. So I think at a young age, the physical nature was something that attracted me to it. Um, as a young kid, I'd look up to Logan Tomlinson. I thought that was my uncle because the last name. So I wore 21 as a young kid for a while. And I think when you're little, it just starts as uh, you know you're an athletic kid. You like running around. You're hanging out with friends, and it's a great time. And then I think as I got older, I kind of fell in love with um, the type of environment football cultivates that you can't really get anywhere else. The type of brotherhood and blood, sweat, and tears you put in with a group of guys, and the need for everyone to sacrifice for the greater good, and this kind of wholehearted camaraderie that I think is really unique to the sport of football.
Yeah, of course, obviously, you started playing the game at a young age. You got into it. You started playing in high school. When did you know in high school that, hey, you know what, I can play the game collegiately and I can play it at a high level?
Yeah, I think a big part of my story is I was under recruited. I wasn't a big prospect out of high school. My junior season was cut short, so I only had really a year of varsity football film. So I think I always had a strong belief in myself, just from how I was raised, and I always believed I could play college football. Um, but as you mentioned before, coming out of high school, I didn't have any Division I offers. And I still had full faith in myself that I could play at that level. But the opportunities that I had in front of me, I ended up going to Wesleyan. That was what I thought was best for myself and my future at the time, and I'm grateful for that decision.
And obviously, you got an opportunity to get a great education at Wesleyan, terrific academic school, good level of football,
Yes,
playing
sir.
in the NESCAC. When did you realize, you know what, I want to see how I can do against a higher level of competition? When did you realize you wanted to grad transfer and
Yeah.
pursue an opportunity to play Division I college football?
Yeah. That wasn't something I always had in the plan. I think when I was at Wesleyan, I was very present being there. I played quarterback in high school. So I started out at Wesleyan as a quarterback. Freshman year, I didn't play. So I was just trying to fight and scrap to get on the field and to prove myself. Sophomore year, COVID hit. And that spring is when I made the transition to receiver. That was, kind of the coach's decision. They asked me what my opinion on making that move was, and it kind of was a gut check for me because I played quarterback my whole life, and I thought I could play quarterback in college. And they asked me to do something that they thought was in the best interest of the team, and once I accepted that and just got rolling with that and made that my main mission to do whatever I can to help out wide. I think that's when I really, found a lot of success. So uh, my junior season was my first, real season at receiver. I was fortunate to have two really strong, first team all conference. I had an all New England season there, an all academic all American year there. And I think after that senior season hit, I kind of realized I had done enough to open the door for myself and potentially play Division One. So it wasn't really until after that season that I kind of made the decision, you know what, I'm going to enter the transfer portal and just see what's out there for me.
Of course, you forego the opportunity to enter the real world. And I always tell young people, Logan, if you have an opportunity to pursue a passion, do it while you're young.
Yes,
If you
sir.
want to travel, try to do it while you're young if you can, because as you get older, obviously, as you know, your responsibilities change, things change. So you enter the portal. Once you enter the portal, what was the interest in you while you were in the portal? Did you have schools contacting you, or was it UNH and a couple of other schools?
Yeah, I had a good level of FCS interest. I was fortunate. I had a good amount of CAA offers. I had some other FCS offers outside of the CAA, but kind of just from my inner circle and people I knew. We thought the CAA would be a good fit for me. It's a high level of football. It's reputable, so that was kind of the conference that was kind of in my head. Going in entering the transfer portal. And then I was fortunate, like I said, I got the UNH offer, URI offer, Stony Brook offer, talked to a couple other CAA schools, and just kind of fell in love with UNH, on my visit there. And, I'm very, very grateful. I ended up playing 2 years at the University of New Hampshire.
What attracted you to the program? Obviously, the program has a rich history of success. Coach Santos, of course, one of the best players to ever play at the school. He's the head coach. We all know about Chip Kelly,
Mhm.
Coach Mack. The football tradition is really strong at UNH. I've often said to people that, when you think about schools like UNH and Maine, people think hockey. But the
Mhm.
reality is, yes, they're big hockey schools, but those have been some pretty darn good football programs. What ultimately attracted you to UNH and made you commit to the program?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, you hit the nail on the head. It was kind of storied, the storied franchise they had in the years of sustained success. Having gone to the playoffs at something like 17 times in the last 20 years at a certain point. I just want to be a part of a winning culture like that. I think that's hard to come by, especially the state of college football nowadays with so much volatility. So that first and foremost really attracted me to UNH. And then the coaching staff, starting with Coach Santos. I could tell from day one those guys were genuine. Those guys had your best interest at heart. They're people. To this day, I text them all the time for advice, for guidance, whatever it may be. So just the opportunity to play with a staff like that was really exciting. Also, going in, the offensive situation I think was, a great one to step into. They had a returning quarterback in Max Brosmer, who's also in the just attended the combine. Dylan Lobby was there. He was the running back there. He's now on the Raiders. So a really high-powered offense that I thought was, a unique one that I could, be a part of and help make a positive impact on.
So you get to Durham. When did you know that, hey, I'm good enough? I can not only compete here, but I can play here and potentially start.
Yeah. So I got there in the spring of 2023. So that was my first, Division I spring ball, mat drills, that whole kind of experience. And I would say there's, some things to get acclimated to. It's a jump in a lot of different ways. But going in, I had full confidence in myself. My goal wasn't to go and just say I'm a Division I football player. My goal was to go there and continue to grow and get better and stand out there as well. So I always had that conviction in myself. I would say, I saw my confidence grow through spring ball, really. Just seeing the coaches, the quarterbacks, the guys around me trusting and believing in me, giving me opportunities to make plays in team periods and things like that. And I think, as people around me, their confidence grew in me and my confidence grew in myself. And I realized, this is where I belong and I can do a lot of good things here.
And of course, you had a tremendous 2-year run at UNH, one of the best receivers in the CAA, one of the best receivers in FCS college football.
Thank you.
And that puts you in a position where you obviously felt good enough about what you did on the field, particularly the last 2 years, where you made the decision to play, or at least to pursue an opportunity to play professionally. Has that
Okay.
always been the goal? I mean, every kid growing up dreams about having an opportunity to play professionally in the sport that they dedicate themselves to. Had that always been the goal, or was that something that you thought about, but you really didn't think you could do it until you saw what you did at UNH?
Yeah, I would say it definitely was. I'd say the way I looked at it when I was younger, in high school when I was playing Division 3, it looked more like a dream. It was something I always aspired to do and thought deep down I could, but I understood I was, a couple rings on the ladder away from making that a reality. So I think just through wherever I was, whether it was high school, Division 3, Division 1, just making the most of each of those opportunities and just doing all I can where I was, and then taking that step up when it presented itself, kind of allowed me to go from where it was a dream and then it's a goal, and now we're right here knocking on the door of it becoming a reality. And I'm just, really grateful to be in this position and excited for it. Yeah.
You are watching Feel the Draft. For this episode, I am joined by Logan Tomlinson, wide receiver from UNH. Logan, obviously, you wrapped up your college career. You're now focusing on the NFL draft. Let's pivot and talk about that. How's that process been for you so far? What has your pre-draft process been like so far? What have you been able to do to put yourself in a position to potentially get drafted or signed as a free agent?
Yeah. So these past, couple months have been super exciting, starting to pursue this. Um, so I signed with my agent, Justin Ross, Dynamic Sports Group, which was a huge step for me. And for the past about 2 months now, I've been out in Pennsylvania training at Grissetti Performance. And it's been amazing. Pro day draft prep training is a really unique time where you train in a way that you never do as an athlete, as a football player, even. So to have this type of, intentional, dedicated 2 months towards this one huge day that is our pro day has been awesome, has been a great experience. I've met a ton of awesome people. And I've seen a lot of growth and improvement in myself. Obviously, the measurables that you want to hit on your pro day, and just taking steps towards those goals has been really exciting.
When you talk about the process in preparing for your pro day and putting yourself in the best position to
Mhm.
make a favorable impression, what goes into that in terms of the training? What have you had to focus on, both on and off the field, to prepare you for your pro day?
Yeah, I think the on the field stuff is um, a lot of running. You have to be in great shape. You have a couple seconds to show people you belong and kind of decide your future. So, um, we're lifting weights and running, almost every day, 6 days a week. And everything we do is extremely intentional. Every day is um, every lift, every movement pattern we're training is designed to improve some direct facet of what we're going to be doing at our pro day. Um, so, like I said, a lot of speed training, sprinting, a lot of change of direction stuff for the cone drills. We continue to lift heavy, for the bench and just to continue to maintain strength. Um, and then, you mentioned off the field. I think that's a huge part of this experience that not a lot of people talk about. Uh, as well as being so dedicated in the weight room and on the field right now, this is the most dedicated I've been off the field as well, in terms of my diet, my sleep, getting my mental ready, prepared, strong, doing different things for myself off the field to allow me to succeed on the field. So, having this 2 months where I have really just one job and one goal every day has been a really powerful 2 months for me, and I think I've seen a lot of growth in a lot of ways because of it.
Obviously your pro day is coming up March 27th at Holy Cross. As you inch closer to that day, and obviously in many ways it's Judgment Day because that's going to really decide where you fit into this puzzle. But up until this point, and as you inch closer to that day, have you gotten
Mhm.
any feedback both from the training staff where you're training, but also people from around the league, scouts, talent evaluators, you name it?
Yeah. Um, So a lot of New Hampshire guys are going to Holy Cross on the 27th. I'm actually going to be going to Yukon on the 25th, just as a Connecticut resident. So, but still, like you said, right around the corner. Um, I've seen a lot of progress. Like I said, Terry Grissetti, who's our trainer here, I talk with him every day about what I can do for this, that, the third, and he's really happy with where I am. I'm never content, but I'm definitely happy with where I am with my measurables. Um, so I get a lot of positive feedback from him at the gym, from the other guys. We learn a lot from each other here. And I've had contact with a few teams. I've spoken to the Ravens. My agent has spoken to the Falcons. So starting to have those lines of communication with a couple NFL teams.
Yeah, and obviously that's a big part of it, and you're going to be able to get in front of even more teams on the 25th. Of course, there'll be a large contingent at UConn, and it's a traveling contingent because there'll be a UConn on the 25th. They'll be at Bryan on the 26th, and then eventually, as you mentioned, they'll be at Holy Cross on the 27th. How important is it for you? You've had the conversation with the Ravens. You've had the conversation, or your agent at least has had the conversation with the Ravens. He's spoken to the Falcons. How important is it for you to communicate with your agent to not only get feedback in terms of his conversations with those teams, but how can you learn from those conversations so that it can better position you to talk to agents at your pro day and beyond that?
Yeah, I would say, a big part is just having clear expectations, right? If a certain team, they may want to see X, Y, Z from you. You're going to have a handful of scouts at your pro day. I know there's times when scouts pull you aside. We want to see you do this thing specifically that, the bulk of other guys may not be doing. So I think that allows you to be more prepared, for what to expect and be able to kind of sharpen any tools that you might need out of the ordinary, out of the generals of the pro day. But I think the biggest thing is just, coming from the FCS, you kind of have to prove yourself a little more than if you come from an FBS school. So I think the pro day is just kind of an even playing field, right? It's a unique opportunity to show, regardless of where I played or what the stigma might be, here's what I can do. I can run this, I can jump this, I have these athletic measurables. So I think just being able to have that opportunity to prove that to the scouts and compare apples to apples, the type of athlete you are, is really the biggest thing for me.
If I were to ask you to define your game, how would you define your game? So if I were a scout
Mm-hmm.
and I'm having this conversation with you off to the side at UConn on the 25th, and I ask you that question, how would you describe your game beyond what I could see on tape? How would you describe your game?
Yeah, I think first off, I'm a big physical. I try to be an overwhelming receiver, right? Where I use my size to my advantage. I think where I really thrive is in the contested catch. I caught a ton of verticals, a ton of fades this past season. I think I'm a red zone threat. So I think that's kind of my niche where I see myself, succeeding. Just being big, being strong, physical, making contested catches, being a threat down in the red zone. But beyond that, I think I pride myself on being selfless. A big thing at UNH is we get in the run game. We love it just as much as the pass game. So I try to be selfless. I try to do anything and anything I can to, for the betterment of my team, and I'll do anything that's asked of me. I've played multiple special teams units. I love doing that. And I just think I bring a selfless nature to a team that's really good for any locker room.
Obviously, you don't get the opportunity to pursue your dream without support along the way. You need strong support
Yes, sir.
along the way. Talk about that and the role family, friends, coaches have played in helping you get to this point. How important has that support been?
Man, that's everything. Like you said, it starts with your family. My parents and my two older brothers, they're the best support system I can ask for. They believe in me in anything I choose to do. And they encourage me with all the decisions I make, through life. So deciding where to go out of high school, deciding, like you said, to I had a job offer out at Wesleyan and had to turn down real life money to continue to pursue this goal. And they supported me there. They supported me at UNH. They didn't miss a game my whole college career. We flew to Central Florida. They were there. So having that support system and those people that believe in me, keeps me going. It really does. And like you said, that support system goes beyond my family. I've had numerous coaches along the way, from through high school, Wesleyan and UNH, that I still am in contact with all the time, who have my back, who are doing whatever they can through this process, to give me the best opportunity possible. So, I'm grateful for all those people. And like you mentioned, I wouldn't be in the position I am today had it not been for the help along the way.
So if you're not working out, if you're not practicing, if you're not playing football, what do you like to do off the field to get away from the game? What are some hobbies, some things that you're into that you can do while you're away from the game?
Yeah. I'm pretty simple, to be honest. Not a whole lot. I like basketball as well. I was a big basketball player in high school. So I'll watch a lot of basketball. Um, I don't play the video game too much. I will here and there. Um, not a whole lot, man. Back in New Hampshire, we'd play pool a lot. We'd play ping pong a lot. That'd get really competitive. So that was a good time. Now that I'm here, in training and outside of training, you don't want to do too much on your body. So right now it's a lot of yoga, a lot of reading. I've been trying to, become better doing that. So not a whole lot, man. I'm a pretty simple guy.
We have a mutual contact in Kyle Archer, and
Yes,
when
sir.
I was talking to Kyle over the weekend when I saw him, and he was raving about you. And one of the things he said is type of kid that you would want your daughter to marry. Why do you think you leave that? But
Man,
that's a pretty strong statement. But
yeah.
why do you think you leave that type of an impression on people? What about you gravitates people towards you and leaves a favorable impression?
Yeah. I love Coach Archer, man. He's one of those guys I was mentioning who's helped me every step of the way. And that means a lot. Sorry about that.
Nope, I got you.
You still see me?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I accredit that mostly to just how I was raised. I'm fortunate to be raised the way I was by my parents, and they instilled values in me from a young age. Um, and it sounds simple, but I think it's built me to the person I am today. So as I mentioned, as a football player, but also just as a human, I try to be selfless. I try to be considerate and empathetic and kind of care for those around me. And I think, when you do things like that in life, it comes back tenfold. You treat people the right way and doors usually open up for you. So um, I just accredit that to really how I was raised. And I'm grateful to have people, saying things like that about me. It means a lot.
Obviously everybody has a specific routine on game day, the way they prepare during the week, the day of the game. Are you a big routine guy? Are you a superstition guy? I mean, do you have a specific routine prior to a game? Do you eat a specific meal? Are you the kind of guy that's going to put his uniform out on his bed the night before the game? I know that's a bit high schoolish, but talk about your game day routine, from what you would eat before a game to how you prepare mentally to what are you listening to for music?
Yeah. Um, I think the biggest thing for me is I'm pretty habitual. I kind of like, if I get in a system or a rhythm, I don't want to deviate from that too much. Um, so I think it's a little different just because, away games, you get the hotel dinners or whatever that may be. So the meals kind of vary. I think the biggest thing for me is I like to take my time. I don't like to be in a rush. I kind of like to live at my speed. So I usually get up pretty early, eat my breakfast, eggs, oatmeal, fruit, something of that sort. And I like to get to the facility well in advance just to give myself time to, be slow, not be in a rush, no stress. Go to the AT room, stretch, get warmed up, handle my business in there. Receivers like to go out on the field early, a couple hours before the game, run around, half speed routes, things like that. Um, And then, I go back in the locker room and I just kind of have time to myself. I'm not a big talker before the game. I kind of, like you said, put my music in. I'm quiet and I'm kind of just reminding myself of all the things I've done to get in this position, and you know, building that mental up pregame. So you're really strong mentally going in. So um, I've got my playlist going into the game. That same playlist I listen to every game. Same.
All right.
Uh,
Well, you throw out playlists, inquiring minds want to know what's on that playlist. I'm a big music guy with football.
yeah.
So, I mean, I coached for 30 years. I wasn't, nowhere near the player you are, but um, it's always piqued my interest. The coach in me, it's always piqued my interest what guys are listening to. So, what would you be listening to before a game? What's on that playlist?
Man, mostly rap, hip hop, whatever's gonna kind of get me angry. Usually it's something more aggressive. I like Big X the Plug recently. There's Future on there. Some Gunna, mostly things like that. Whatever can kind of speak of some violence. You don't want to listen to that sort of music all the time, but I think football's war out there, so you got to kind of have that pregame violence a little bit in your head.
Oh, absolutely. And people think that us football folks are cheesy for it and it's over the top. And how could you equate it to war and combat? But you make a great point. You've got to
Yeah,
get yourself in that frame of mind. It's the
yeah,
most physical sport to play in the world. No
yeah.
disrespect to the hockey and rugby crowd out there. There's a reason football only plays once a week.
Hmm.
And so I don't think people fully understand that part of it, that
Yeah.
there is the psychological component and you do have to get yourself ready. Of course, as you can imagine, I'm 50. I'm not listening to any of those acts. I'm more of a Metallica, Alice in
Okay.
Chains.
Okay.
You know, that's more my jam.
Sure.
I do like my old school rap. I am a product of the '90s,
Yep.
but yeah, no, I think you bring up a great point, Logan, in that you've got to get yourself in that frame of mind, and music for a football player is a great way to do it. Final question here tonight. And again, I want to say thank you for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity for us to get to know you beyond what we know about you on the
Sure.
football field. What is a team getting in Logan Tomlinson if they draft you or sign you?
Yeah. Um, you're gonna get a hard worker. First and foremost, I've never shied away from work. Um, my whole life, I've grown up. I learned you get what you earn. Nothing's gonna be handed to you, and I'd never ask for something to be handed to me. But I'm ready to work for it. Whatever that may be. You're gonna get a hard worker. You're gonna get someone selfless who's gonna put the team first, who's gonna do what's asked of them. You're going to get someone with no ego. I'm not the type of guy who goes into things with expectations. Um, I'm just ready for an opportunity. So I think the biggest thing is like I said, you're going to get someone who's going to go in, put their head down, do what's asked to their best of their ability, and give it everything they got day in and day out. And you're going to get a versatile player who's shown they can perform at a high level. And I think come the pro day, you're going to get a very high level athlete, who can kind of do it all as an athlete all around. So, I'm just really excited for any opportunity and ready to work.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you talk about any opportunity, you want to play ball, whether it's obviously the goal is to play in the NFL, but I'm sure if you had the opportunity to play in the CFL, the other leagues, you would
Yes, sir.
pursue that opportunity. UFL.
Yes, sir. I think, through talk to my agent and just kind of my mindset, I always, as I mentioned from where I've been before, had conviction and belief in myself that I can play at the highest level, and I still believe that to today. I really do. So that's really where my eyes are set. But as you mentioned, if things were to happen and there wasn't an opportunity there, I'd just be grateful to play football at any level and continue to prove myself and strive upward. Absolutely.
Well, Logan, I want to say thank you for taking the time, my man. I mean, you've been an impressive player on the field, but all of the things I heard about you, you definitely check off all the boxes, my friend. You're just as
Thank you.
impressive off the field. I want to say thank you for taking the time. It's been an honor covering your career for us, and we can't wait to see what's next for you here on your NFL draft journey.
Thank you, John. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time. As always, stay in touch, my man. We can't wait to see what happens next month. And as always, we're going to be rooting for you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. That is Logan Tomlinson, wide receiver from the University of New Hampshire. That'll do it for this episode of Field of Draft. Until next time, peace.